Hello, and welcome to Star Wars Talks Episode 2. Now, in the first episode of this series, I voiced one of my strongest Star Wars opinions. The Rise of Skywalker sucks. It was one of my favorite Star Wars topics, but wasn't a great intro to the series as it doesn't talk about Star Wars as a whole. However, if anything talks about Star Wars as a whole, it's this, because today I am ranking all the Star Wars movies, including the Star Wars stories, so let's get right into it. Based on my previous video, I wonder what my least favorite Star Wars movie is. If you guessed Revenge of the Sith, then you would be completely wrong. Of course, it's The Rise of Skywalker. I won't say too much about this one because I have an entire video on it, but in the end, the main reasons this movie was so bad is because it cast aside so many characters and so many things it did just made no sense and went against the rest of Star Wars as a whole. In number 10, I decided to put Solo, a Star Wars story. This movie wasn't bad, but the thing is, it just wasn't good. It was pretty boring, and as with most Star Wars movies, I have watched it multiple times. But yet, I can still remember practically nothing about it. The train heist was the only good scene. At the time of watching, I loved the Darth Maul cameo, but it was just that, a cameo. In the end, it was just a simple backstory that gave us something we already knew and crammed too much into too small a time span. The next two movies were hard for me to choose between, but at number 9, I decided to put Attack of the Clones. Every movie from here on was at least pretty good, but this movie was only pretty good. The story and plan for this movie was good, but the execution brought it down a few bars. I don't usually get into this stuff, but for this movie, bad acting, dialogue, and an overuse of CGI are what made it poor. Nonetheless, this movie introduced the clones and gave us backstory for characters like Boba Fett, showed us Anakin beginning to fall to the dark side, and paved the path for the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, so it is most definitely not bad. In a tough decision, after Attack of the Clones, I think The Last Jedi is in a fitting 8th place. Despite what people say, some aspects of this movie were good, but some parts were really bad. First, I'll talk about the most horrendous part of this movie, and that was what happened to Luke's character. That was just simply horrible, so I will not even speak of it. There was also some more crap with Rey, Snoke, and that kind of thing, but in the end there was decent character development for characters like Poe and plenty of good action scenes, so I think this was a good movie. In number 7, I decided to put The Force Awakens. Now, I did enjoy this movie, but as for all the sequels, it is ridden with plot holes. First of all, the New Republic was established after the Return of the Jedi, but then all of a sudden there was a massive, unexplained Empire Part 2. And even though there's a whole entire republic out there to stop them, no, there needs to be another tiny resistance to put a stop to them. Rey, a person who has known about the Force for 5 hours, defeated a powerful dark side user with 15 years of training. Plot holes aside, this movie had good action and gave us a decent introduction to the characters which the following movie ruined. Now, lots of people might disagree with this choice, but I am putting The Phantom Menace in number 6. There were some obvious flaws with this movie, mainly Kid Anakin and Jar Jar Binks, but other than that, I found this movie to be exciting and a good start/introduction to the prequels. Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul were very good characters this movie brought in. There was good action in this movie, and the duel at the end was pretty great. Now from now on, all the movies in this list are amazing and the best pieces of Star Wars we could ask for in movie form. These are the 5 greatest Star Wars movies that fit perfectly into the story and make this series so great. In number 5, I decided to put the OG, A New Hope. Now, when people think of Star Wars, they think of this movie. It's the first Star Wars movie a lot of people, including me, watched, and it's amazing. Every scene in this movie makes me happy, but compared to some other, even better Star Wars movies, it downgrades from amazing to great. But despite this, it is still a wonderful introduction to the universe and characters that we all love. And now we move on to the number 4 placement, one that some older Star Wars fans would probably kill me for. And after hearing this, I'm sure you've guessed it, it's The Empire Strikes Back. Now, I totally understand why people who originally watched this in the theater have a stronger connection to it. Going in knowing nothing and hearing, "Luke, I am your father," must have been shocking. But sadly, I went in knowing pretty much everything about it, and plus, I think that all 6-year-old me really cared about were the action scenes, and to this day, I still consider the Battle of Hoth one of the coolest battles in Star Wars. And I really, really, really wanted to rank it number 3, but I just couldn't put it above any of the coming choices. And number 3, we have a Star Wars movie that was just done right. That's it. It was just done well and it created something amazing. That's Rogue One. What else can I say? It's a great story that explains a lot and does it well. The Battle of Scarif is amazing, and please don't get me started on the Vader hallway scene. I do feel like besides the end battle being a masterpiece, it does get a bit slow in some parts, but in the end it's amazing and brought us so much new content. And now we are on to number 2. One thing I always hated about rankings, besides having to listen to other people's opinions of course, is how giving away number 2 always gives away number 1, but there's no better way to do it. So in number 2 is Revenge of the Sith. Many people rank it number 1, but I feel like it's just not good enough for number 1. But besides that, it is truly a cinematic masterpiece. It has a couple of scenes that I could watch over and over for hours. The space battle in the beginning is awesome and a bit underrated, I would say, and at this point the Battle of Mustafar may be the most iconic scene in Star Wars. This movie brings me unending joy. It is a bit overrated, but for good reason, and is probably only a bit behind number 1 by a very small margin. Now here's number 1. You knew it, you weren't shocked by it. It's The Return of the Jedi. What can I say? The beginning starts off a teensy bit rough, but once Han is unfrozen, there isn't a single scene that doesn't dive below great in the rest of the movie. 1 or 2 parts are slow, but that's only so they can bring us important dialogue and backstory. It was the perfect end to the perfect saga. If you pretend the sequels aren't canon, which I am seriously considering starting doing. This was my list. I hope you enjoyed, and may the Force be with you.